A bizarrely emerald-tinged world that is both familiar yet twisted. A dark fantasy land populated with gloom-touched mutated freaks of nature against a backdrop of corrupted landscapes and frequently humorous and twisted characters, all presented in a densely packed digest-sized format for your old-school games. Let's take a strange trip into this lime-tinged realm from Monkey Blood Games, the Midderlands, coming right up on RPG Retro Reviews. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel RPG Retro Reviews. I'm Captain Courageous and I review old school modules and games and try to give them a fun and informative analysis. If you've ever lost a character to an insidious dungeon trap, traversed the wide expanse of a mythical fantasy landscape with your friends, or faced down the toothy maw of some hideous beast of the nether realms, then this channel is for you. Welcome. If you like content like this, then please subscribe and click the little bell to get more content like this. Check out my vast library of old school reviews and insights sure to inspire your games with exciting modules and perspectives on classic adventures. Monkey Blood Zines has been quietly publishing its Midderlands setting to much acclaim and generously sent me the complete package of Midderland products, bringing it to my attention. My intention was to simply do a single review on everything that Monkey Blood Games sent to me, but as I got into the setting, I realized that I would be doing it an injustice not to give it a bit more care. So I will ultimately be doing 3 reviews. The first one is the one you're watching right now on the Midderlands. The second will be Midderlands Expanded, and the third will be on the City of London. With all that said, let's begin. Originally released in 2017, the Midderlands is a dark fantasy reflection or parallel world of the actual English Midland countryside, which is the real-life homeland of the setting's author, Glenn Seal. The old adage to write what you know really proves accurate here, and Seal takes the familiar towns and landmarks of his home country and twists, bends, and mutates them in deliciously interesting and twisted ways. The result is a strange, haunting, occasionally humorous, but very authentic RPG setting that is sure to provide a near endless amount of inspiration for both the players and referees alike. The Midderlands is primarily written to be used with the Swords and Wizardry RPG from Frog God Games, but given that it is an OSR game, it can easily be directly used for other systems, such as Old School Essentials, Labyrinth Lord, Osric, Blue Home, just to name a few. Given the strange nature of the place, it is home to many peculiar folk, generally mistrusting of outsiders. They eye strangers with suspicion, closing doors, barring windows, and scurrying in opposite directions. Conversely, there are a goodly number of upright folks as well, who desire to just live peacefully. Unfortunately for them, nothing is ever that simple. The Midderlands is composed of a great number of small towns and hamlets, woods, hills, lakes, and stranger locales, circles of stones, strange towers, foreboding castles, and barrier grounds. Everywhere, though, is tinged with green, the origin of which rises from the Midder gloom, a foul underrealm of the setting. Deep below ground are acid limes, noxious and acrid vapors, miasmas that seep upward from below. Demons, tentacled horrors, and other things occasionally claw their way to the surface to wreak havoc on the populace. Meanwhile, the lords of the land work to keep the Celadon-tinged menace at bay. The corruption below the Midderlands seeps upwards, even tinting the sky a drab shade of green rather than blue. At night, the constellations are surrounded by wispy green nebulae, strange wandering stars and comets, and a single, many-cratered, almost web-covered moon. The source for all of this strangeness stems from a spinning core of ethereal arcane metal known as Gloomium. To look upon it is to invite madness, as it is colossally huge, intensely bright green, and infinitely denser than iron. Proximity to this foul substance twists, alters, and mutates the denizens of the Middergloom into weirder and more bizarre forms known as the Gloom-Touched. There are quite a few original Gloom-Touched monsters provided, but the sourcebook takes the additional step of offering a random chart of 20 ways to make any creature a Gloom-Touched creature. Now, as I said earlier, this book is both adult and humorous, so in addition to describing the creepy and bizarre landscape that is the Midderlands, it also provides a D30's worth of strangeness. It simply calls weird shit. A puddle of luminous green liquid bubbles up from the floor or ground. A localized rain downpour that includes frogs. A herd of cattle that suddenly develops the ability to talk in common for a short time. I can just imagine the amusing conversations that party has with a group of cows as they chew grass and talk about how boring their days are. But it's nice to be able to talk about it to someone. Of course, by the time the party returns, perhaps bringing the authorities to the field to show them that the cows are talking, all they get is murr from the cows. Clearly, this is some weird shit. Given the green is pervasive in this setting, the author lists about 30 different ways to describe something as green, but not saying green. Very handy. Then the lay of the land is given, describing the roadway, the governmental hierarchy, Midderfolk colloquialisms, races of the Midderlands, coinage, and so on. All of this really gives a good feel to the setting and the people that reside there. The governmental system is feudalistic, with a mad queen named Elizabeth IV. She rules over all of Havenland and is keen on placing the heads of traitors on spikes around her palace. Of course, she is surrounded by sycophantic dukes, eager to keep their heads, gain favor, scheme and backstab the other dukes, and so on, leaving the appointed lords and ladies of the various counties to do the actual work of government. To help carry out their tasks, lords appoint knights, usually raised up from the general populace, given the ability to bear arms and some level of respectability. The currency of the Midderglooms is appropriately Old English, in type with copper halfpennies, tin pennies, brass 2p, and so on, further adding to the immersion of the setting. The folk of the Midderlands are a devout group in general, but they venerate several higher powers, and while the game master can use whatever deities they feel they wish to use for their campaign, the book does a great job of suggesting and describing 10 appropriate gods that might be worshipped, from Mithra, the Lady of Luck, to Old Hob, the Devil. These are ready-made to capture the feel of the setting and guide the game master in what other deities they may wish to include. The overall map of the setting is artistically rendered and very easy to follow and find locations. The area it covers is relatively small, but even still there is enough description and source material here to keep a group of adventurers busy for years. Further adding to the feel of the setting, full heraldry is detailed for the various lords and towns described, and then wonderfully a list of Midderland words is given, such gem as "Ahirv" for I have, or "cake hole" or "chops" for mouth, "cocker" for friend, "os" for horse, and so on, giving a decent feel of the dialect of the land as well as providing some additional humor. Finally, we get to what is essentially the Gazetteer section of the book, and the work here is quite good. There are a ton of town maps as well as detailed descriptions for the various locales, everything from small villages and hamlets to major towns such as Burnton, with a decent enough amount of detail for the game master to run on the fly if needs be, but also allowing the GM to make the place their own. The artistry of the maps is really quite spectacular, and Glenn Seal should be commended for his work. And he was, as this book was the gold winner for Best Cartography in the 2018 Ernie Awards. In addition to the various towns and villages, there are several points of interest, such as the Full Mead Brewery, where some of the best brews in the land are made, the Sodden Moor of the Middlemore Gaol, the Twisted Tower of Pie, and many other places meant to inspire adventure ideas. There are some unique magic items described, such as the Gloomium Blade, a strange and very rare +5 longsword that is made of gloomium. Amazingly bright green, of course, and requiring a 16 or greater strength to wield due to its weight. This blade could certainly serve as the object of a quest. And then there's the Iron Mask of Pigork. This weird item allows the wearer to essentially cast a mass charm person spell to all within 20 feet. A saving throw is needed to avoid just to look at the wearer, and after 3 rounds, they are effectively charmed. Amusingly, the wearer of the mask must oink, snort, or squeal like a pig every 4th word until the mask is removed. The wearer also gains dark vision, but also a -1 penalty to attacks and saving throws when in bright light. There is also a list of magic spells unique to the setting, usually involving gloomium and greenness, such as the gloomium shield that surrounds the caster in an ethereal green mist and gives the caster an armor class of 0 for 1 turn, or the Curse of Old Hob, a clerical spell that afflicts those touched for 1d6 rounds with a -2 penalty on all attacks, saving throws, and armor class. A goodly amount of flora and fauna is listed. The tiny but horrific earwax-loving centidemopede, several species of weird fish, to hallucinogenic fungi. Once again, there is a ton of great detail to inspire the game master and demonstrate the unique weirdness that is the Midderlands. Finally, we get to the monster section of the book, and like the Gazetteer section, this is really a unique listing of creatures the game master can introduce as adversaries, but also several of the creatures described can be used as playable classes. Further, each monster also lists a unique example of the type with a name and everything. I don't think I've ever seen that before, and I was really impressed by the level of detail here. The monster descriptions include motivations for the monster, its traits and mannerisms, in addition to the statistics, further adding to the role-playing opportunities and bizarre encounters with these creatures that might be offered. Of course, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and the illustrations of the monsters here are absolutely horrific and Lovecraftian in nature. The things described here are otherworldly, bizarre, and obviously just plain weird. I love it. If all of this wasn't enough, the book ends with a short adventure, Spies of the Soars, written by Mark Nolan. Certainly a great introduction to the setting, using NPCs and locales described in the book to great effect, especially handy for the new game master to get them right into the setting. But after that, the book goes a step further by providing a healthy number of really great adventure hooks as well. There's also a list of strange things to be found in specific hexes of the campaign map. This is wonderful old school stuff and certainly makes one want to start exploring the weird landscape of the Midderlands and go on adventures. And there are a lot to be had here. Finally, there are a decent number of appendices, an amazing number of midfolk insults, a weather table, a handy midfolk names and trades table, and some additional small town or hamlet names. And for those players that love to search the bodies of those they've slain or captured, a crap you'll find on midfolk table, such as moldy cheese, a severed finger, and other weirdness. Finally, in the back is a wonderfully detailed index. Yes, very handy during play or to try and relocate tidbits of information you've previously read. Long-time viewers of this channel know how much I'm irked by source books that fail to provide this handy tool, and like the rest of the material, it is very well done. So, let's go ahead and take a look at the Midderlands on my D20 scale of style, presentation, and value. Style-wise, this thing oozes it. It's easy on the eyes. It has a tone and style all its own, and it pervades all 228 pages, offering a definitive immersion experience. The pervasive green of the Middergloom permeates its pages. It's weird, it's dark, and it's humorous. The creativity leaps off the pages and is amazingly well thought out. I'm going to have to rate this one a natural 20 critical hit. I loved reading this book. It was well written, edited, and the digest size was very handy and easy to hold in my hands. This is super easy to carry around and read at your leisure. The binding is stitched and the book is very well made and will definitely hold up to years of use. However, it doesn't lay flat and open. It likes to close, which can be a bit annoying when used during a game session. Fortunately, there are 2 ribbon bookmarks stitched in place, and you're going to need them. That said, this setting is top-notch and unique. Everything from the culture of the Midderlands, its people, the places, the flora and fauna, the weird fantasy monsters. This is indeed a dark fantasy land that begs to be explored and is chock full of old-school goodness. I'm going to rate it an 18. Finally, let's talk value. Obviously, Monkey Blood Design originates out of the UK, which means prices for the printed materials are in pounds sterling. The sourcebook retails on their website for £30, which converted to around $40 US. Add to that shipping, it's another $20 to Maryland according to the shipping calculator on the website, though I did see that some buys in the second-hand market for considerably less. The PDF by itself is $20 at Drive-Thru RPG, so acquiring this book may be a tad expensive for some. But if you're in the UK, then it's probably a pretty good value. This is a quality setting, and you will probably love it if you're a fan of dark fantasy and the OSR. I'm going to rate it an 18 as well. That brings the overall rating of the dark fantasy OSR setting, the Midderlands, to a 19. It's amazing. I'd also like to mention that there is an outstanding 5e version of the setting available, which looks great. So if you prefer to use the modern iteration of the game, but want an old school style setting, then this just might be what you're looking for. Further, Midderlands is heavily supported by Monkey Blood Designs with its own Midderzine. Here you can get more background on towns, the people, more monsters, character classes, and other great rules expansions to add to your old school game. A link to Midderzine issue 1 is in the description, and there have been 7 issues released both in print and in PDF form so far. Definitely worth checking out. Just a brief commentary on the state of the OSR. From my perspective, the OSR has never been stronger. High-quality OSR products from innovative creators has never been more prevalent and successful. Kickstarters are funded and fulfilled by phenomenal creators like Monkey Blood Games, Necrotic Gnome, Northwind Adventures, Goblinoid Games, Frog God Games, and more. The quality of these products means you might experience a bit of frustration as they are frequently sold out when you go to buy them. As a prime example, Old School Essentials just funded their $100,000 Kickstarter in a few hours, with over $250,000 in 30 days to go. That's actually a good thing. That means that the product is successful. Older gamers as well as new gamers are embracing our hobby like never before, and the future is a bright one. And that about wraps up this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you found it informative and useful. Coming up, I've got tons of old school reviews as well as a look back at classic material, as well as a review of the Return to Dark Tower board game. As always, I want to thank my patrons, without whom these videos would simply not be possible. Please give this video a like, comment, and share. Check out my Facebook page, RPG Retro Reviews, and consider becoming a patron yourself, or alternatively, you can just leave a tip in my PayPal tip jar. And as always, my friends, may your D20 roll true, and game on!